Frenzzz I Need a Warm from NATASHA DENONA has arrived, and I was pleased to find out that when I ordered this on Monday afternoon, okay, it arrived this morning, Wednesday, like 7:30 a.m. I was astonished and very happy. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm Alicia. Love to review eyeshadow palettes, especially those from NATASHA DENONA. And if you'd like to see more, you can check out my playlist down below in the link in the description box. But today we're getting into I Need a Warm, highly anticipated, as these shades, I mean, in my wheelhouse and in other people's as well. And I think when we all saw it, we immediately compared it to the several palettes that NATASHA DENONA has in her portfolio. So in this video, we'll get into the footage. I filmed myself applying shadow and will speak as the footage runs because I just needed to get into it myself and didn't want to apply the shadows on camera first impression style. And this is still a first impressions because it just arrived today and I just slapped these shadows on 2 hours ago, but I just wanted to get acquainted with the textures and the shades because we got new formulas and everything, and I just needed better context to present the comparisons and what I think about I Need a Warm. And you're like, how did you get this palette so quickly? It released as early access on the Sephora app Monday afternoon sometime, and I just picked it right up. But officially will launch tomorrow, August 22nd on NATASHADENONA.com, online and at Ulta Beauty, and I believe Sephora as well. In stores for Ulta Beauty on the 25th. I believe Beautylish will also have this palette tomorrow on the 22nd as well. If you would like to purchase from NATASHADENONA.com, I do have a code Alicia15 for 15% off. Thank you in advance for even considering. I'll have all those retail links down below. Not that you have to buy it immediately after watching this video, but if you do consider purchasing it down the road, maybe come back to this video and use my link. Maybe. I really appreciate it if you do. Here she is. NATASHA DENONA writes, meet the new I Need a Warm eyeshadow palette, the ultimate neutral warm version of the viral I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette, featuring two brand new innovative formulas, Slip Cream Matte and Metal Gloss, with a blend of metallic champagnes, rich caramel, shimmering rosy coppers, essential browns, and a fun color shifting trio chrome. This versatile palette is perfect for all skin tones. Well, we will see, because there was speculation as to I Need a Warm was the I Need a Nude for deeper skin tones. And from the photos, it does look warm, but in my opinion, I think it actually, compared to many of her palettes in her collection, still on the neutral side. What makes it warm are these peachier shades, but we'll get into that when covering the swatches, which we can do starting now. Soft Spot is a matte medium earthy brown. Fancy, a metallic champagne. Mellow, a matte light peachy nude. Phenomena, a multi-chrome peach pink green. Ripe, a matte light medium peach brown, which I think was from Metropolis, which is discontinued. Elm, sparkling foiled light bronzy nude. Snug, metal gloss, the first metal gloss, warm soft bronze. Vim is a matte deep warm brown. Push, a sparkling foiled medium rusty rose gold. Fervor, a matte medium warm caramel. Pep, a matte deep warm brown. Homie, the second metal gloss in warm nude. Hanker, metallic medium dark golden brown. Dynamism, duochrome medium brown with green specks. And lastly, we have Flashover, a new formula, the Slip Cream Matte in a medium clay brown. Now, just off the bat, because I have I Need a Warm here on the eyes, for me, this is my I Need a Glam for my skin tone. And I had originally said that golden was my I Need a Nude for my skin tone because of the sandier hues and the more golden hues, and people were saying that maybe I Need a Warm is a muted bronze palette, and I have bronze here. Because of the peachier tones, I could see why one would consider I Need a Warm a desaturated bronze, but I had originally thought that I Need a Warm was more of a desaturated My Dream, right? My Dream has, magnets. My Dream has a lot more variety, and because of Familia and Carpe, is it? Yes, Carpe Diem. These shades here reminded me of what was going on in I Need a Warm. And then I thought about Biba. When Biba released that, people went crazy for this one because this was an all neutral palette, and I can't lift it all the way because spot got dislodged and it will just fall right out if I do. This is what I Need a Warm reminded me of immediately, because you have different undertones. You have the mustards here, the more clay pinks here, and the more neutral shades on the last row, but you only have 3 metallics in Biba, where I Need a Warm is giving you metal gloss, sparkling foil this, metallic that. So there's a lot more diversity in terms of the textures, but again, I had to have this on standby because I was like, oh, well, I Need a Warm to me look like an expanded mini Biba, right? Because I thought about these colors as well, but side by side, mini Biba is a little more pink, more of like a rosy brown hue overall. Like this exists in I Need a Warm, you know what I mean? But not as pink heavy in my opinion, just from using the palette in like the 8 looks I did. You heard that correctly. And for me, golden is a completely different color story. Golden is golden, okay? Is more yellow with a cooler bronze hue delivered with the sparkled foils and the metallic this, metallic that, whereas I Need a Warm is more almost like copper rose gold and a warmer bronze hue. I also thought about Makeup by Mario's Ethereal Eyes because I had used this in my Bobodo video that will be coming up next after this video, and side by side there are similarities 100%. I think if you have Ethereal Eyes, you can definitely capture I Need a Warm moments, but here's the thing. These guys don't have the same base of color, and it is completely different formula from Natasha's. Natasha has, even with the reflective metal gloss formula and the sparkling foil, reflectivity is off the chain, but the base of color is a lot stronger, has a heavier delivery of color than these topper shades that are just so soft and very lightweight, almost like powdered silk, right? It's not going to have that same color richness and adherence in my opinion, but in terms of the overall mood, because you saw that Ethereal Eyes has the cooler tones in there, it's like a smaller I Need a Nude, I Need a Warm combined into one palette. And then I thought about Byredo's Remembrance, which is, my goodness, my favorite palette of 2023. Or no, did I say it was Izamea's 2.0? I can't remember. I think I said it was Izamea's, but I thought about this as well. The mirror's making the palette look darker than what it really is. But anyway, I had thought about Remembrance. I think Remembrance is a little more diverse because, here, I'll hold it up this way. You see how Remembrance makes I Need a Warm a lot more monochromatic in my opinion, because you got silver and lavender, you got the burgundy here, the dark brown there, and the medium shades are, yes, that peachy coral rosy tone thing that kind of is going on in I Need a Warm, but I Need a Warm I think more peachy, because those medium shades when I apply them appeared peachier than rosy as I had previously assumed that they would appear, and this is definitely more rosy pink because of those shades included. Now if you're looking for some swatch comparisons, I'm doing the big ones because otherwise this video will be an hour long, and I'm trying to edit this and get it up in a reasonable time frame, so thank you so much for understanding. I'm picking up Sundown and Ridge, maybe? Here's Sundown and Ridge from Bronze. I'll swatch these two here because from I Need a Warm, I think the most relevant in terms of the undertone. So here we have Ripe and here we have Fervor. I think they're completely different, especially because the mattes from Bronze are just more red. And even if you can argue, and you can, that the metallics in Bronze have similarities, I think the only similar thing going on in I Need a Warm that you could pull from Bronze is Phenomena, because all the other metallics in here are like coppery orangey, hotter rose gold serving of undertone. And from My Dream, going in with Unity and Carpe Diem, because I immediately thought about Carpe Diem when I saw I Need a Warm for the first time. Again, this is from I Need a Warm, and Unity, let's see how it compares. Unity definitely has more of like that pink, whereas, let me see here, Ripe is a little more peachy leaning. Do you see that difference? You're like, barely. We're just, you know, we're just trying to make the distinction, okay? Oh, and Familia from My Dream. Whoa, definitely giving a little more. And I can swatch that next to Vim, as well as Flash Over. Flash Over is the new slip cream. Oh my goodness, it is lovely. Here's Vim compared to Familia. It's definitely more of a neutral brown shade. And Flash Over, yes, clay brown. I classify this also as like a rose brown. It is absolutely to die for. So you could argue that's similar to Familia in a sense, right? But this, I feel, is a little more brown in the undertone overall, but like that nuance of rose, of clay rose, is just peeking through. Vision, again, the trio chrome from My Dream, is the more magenta to green, whereas Phenomena is the peach pink green, a lot warmer overall in delivery. And from Golden, well, I could compare Nubia to Homie. Homie, I think, is the new metal gloss, but here is Nubia. I think this is one of the wet effect. That's Nubia. And let's see if we can detect a difference in undertone. Again, this is Homie. I think looks a lot cooler. Yeah, a little more neutral. If I turn my arm, maybe you can see the difference in the undertone, because Nubia definitely, as I see it from this angle, definitely has a stronger, more golden undertone than Homie. Homie sits a little more neutral. And Varus, I thought about Varus immediately. This is from Golden, the beautiful metallic bronze, whereas we have Hanker now. Hanker from I Need a Warm. From when I used it, it felt like it was a little lighter, huh? So Varus appears a little more cool tone versus Hanker. It's the same formula. You can see that metallic velvet finish on the swatch, but Hanker definitely a little more warm than Varus from Golden. And it's interesting, I'm looking at My Dream, and because of the inclusion of this magenta and this eggplant, and then you have the burgundy, and in Invention, actually, we can see how Invention looks next to Phenomena. This is Phenomena. I'm just swatching it right here. Oh, that looks orange. Because you have Serenity, which is cool, as well as Nurture. Babies has like that lavender tone to it. There's a lot more diversity going on in My Dream, and I think more suitable for deeper skin tones just because of the more vibrant shades included in here. But also with Carpe Diem and Familia, they have a little bit of body to them in terms of the shade themselves, whereas I Need a Warm is like Biba 2.0, but a little more compact, with the peachier rosy brown inspiration tied to it. And lastly, I mean, we gotta do the side by side of I Need a Nude. I Need a Nude, a lot more frosty, 100%. I mean, the palette doesn't help either. It definitely amplifies the overall cooler nature of I Need a Nude, but you can see the similarities and how it was appropriately named I Need a Warm just based off the concept. And I love how NATASHA DENONA stuck to a similar palette design. Now I just need a third one. I would love for this to come in threes. What would she do next? Because she does I Need a Nude, I Need a Warm. I need a blank of something else that's maybe more color specific. We shall see. Let's get into the footage. On the first round, I wanted to see how Ripe and Fervor compare to each other. So I slapped on Ripe on the right eye through the crease, Fervor on the left. Ripe definitely has more of that peachy vibe to it as the description outlined, and Fervor, that warm caramel, but I consider it to be like a warm caramel, almost like an orange tone caramel. I returned to the right eye and decided to apply Push on the lid, and Push was described to be a medium rose gold. Great reflectivity, but you can definitely recognize that rose gold hue on the the foundation shade, but you have beautiful dazzle at the same time, followed with Fancy on the inner corner, which is the metallic champagne. Oh, and Push is the sparkling foiled, which would explain its reflectivity. I thought it'll be nice to have that contrast between Fancy and Push. Fancy being a little more, not completely icy, but compared to Push, a cooler tone on the inner corner for highlight, and Stamped on Pep on the lash line, which provided beautiful definition. Easily the powder adhered, it looked dark brown, it had that distinction. On the Fervor eye, I decided to go in with Snug, and Snug again was described to be, oh, it's the Metal Gloss, by the way, the Metal Gloss Soft Bronze. Beautiful shiny shade. I mean, my goodness. And I do like how Fervor just brought in a little more color to Snug, if that's what you wanted, to slap on one of these peachier, warmer mattes on the lid first and followed with either the Metal Gloss or the sparkling foil. I think is a great way to go. Elm on the inner corner, and again, Elm was another sparkling foiled formula, which is more of a bronzy nude. It's hard to distinguish between Elm and Fancy, but I think Elm is a little warmer than Fancy, just a touch. And I decided to then place Pep more on my outer V to create a smoky look, just to see how it would appear on one side where I kept it more subdued, having Pep along the lash line. On the other side, created more of a distinct smoky look. And my goodness, the Metal Gloss, I appreciate how it adheres to the lid, easy to apply, just slaps it on, and the reflectivity and shine, like metal, appropriately named. And you can see how Ripe and Fervor will steer the looks to be a little more warm because of the peachier undertone and the caramel undertone. On the next round, I'll use the more neutral brown shades, and I think these were my favorite looks because I adore a hazy neutral brown eye that doesn't appear as smoky, but again, more hazy smoky that I still think appropriate for daily errands and the like. I started the right eye with Soft Spot all over because Soft Spot appealed to me immediately in that it's the brown shade, but it's not quite like the same undertone as what's found in Golden. And my apologies, I can definitely swatch that here. This is Soft Spot from I Need a Warm, and I can go in with something like Aria from Golden, which will appear more neutral. You see that there's more of like that clayish rosy undertone to Soft Spot, which I just all over the lid. Okay, with my Sonia brush, all you need. I immediately went on to the left eye to see how Soft Spot compared to Flash Over. Flash Over is the new slip cream, and it, I think, in my opinion, has better grab than her creamy powder or cream to powder, which has gone through several formulation changes over the last few years because Natasha loves to cook. So maybe slip cream will replace the cream to powder in that, yes, I think it has better adherence, but will continue to do so down the line, because an issue with the cream to powder, you could see here from My Dream, is that it can get hard pan and you will need a brush appropriate to pick up that texture. The slip cream, I think, will maintain its softness longer over time and will ensure a better pickup also. The thing is, there is a heavy trade-off with something that's so easy to blend, and that's longevity. I think despite its easier pickup, I don't know if slip cream will demonstrate longer staying power, simply because it just felt so emollient when I applied it. And you see the hue here, it has more like that clay rosy undertone, which I absolutely adore. But returning back to the formula, we'll see how it fares out. Of course, I'll continue to wear this palette and we'll report back, but I'm not expecting so much longer, only because it is so fluid on the lid. I don't know how long it will last longer than her traditionally formulated powder matte. I could only imagine that it will fare better if you paired it with a matte, just so that it has that assistance from the powder texture. Back to the Soft Spot eye, I decided to apply Dynamism. Interesting shade. It looks bronze, but it has that green reflect that definitely makes it appear more of like that rosy or more gold leaning bronze in the reflectivity. Push on the inner corner just to get that rose gold going for highlight. And Vim for me is like teak and golden. It's like that medium tone that provides a little bit of smoke, but not so much like pep. So if you wanted a little more of that haze on the outer corner, you could rely on Vim to be applied on soft spot or either ripe or fervor to create a little bit of that beginner level smoke. On the left eye, on top of flash over, I decided to go in with Phenomena, the Trio Chrome, and naturally because of the clay undertone in flash over, I think it amplified the peachy hue in Phenomena even more. Whereas as opposed to you applying Phenomena alone on the lid, it will appear more pink versus peach, but definitely applying Phenomena on one of the mattes, I think it's just going to intensify the color delivery overall. On the inner corner, I went in with Homie, one of the metal gloss shades. Whew, the shine is just outrageous. And the formula across the board from what I have applied so far in this footage has just been beyond seamless. I was especially impressed by the slip cream. Again, we'll come back to you about longevity, but the pickup from Dynamism, fantastic. It definitely has a little more texture than, let's say, Phenomena. Phenomena I would consider more flaky, I think, because of the Trio Chrome formula, but Element Fancy, a little more conservative in terms of texture. Dynamism, you definitely have a little more zhuzh going on in the powder because of those green reflective shades. I think Dynamism it's just a duochrome. It's not a metal gloss. Homie's a metal gloss. Dynamism is a duochrome. It's just going to have a little more texture due to those reflect pearls or whatever is in the powder, but you just smooth it on, and that's why I wanted to use a finger to ensure the best pickup, and I followed with a brush to refine the edges on my inner arc. The third round, I started out with Ripe and wanted to see how Vim would appear and how it would influence the overall eye, because in the first round you saw how Ripe, especially if I just applied a little bit of pep on the lash line and didn't apply it on the outer corner, with Push, it definitely presented that warmer eye feel. Whereas Vim, I think, just brought the peachiness down a little bit if you wanted that. And Homie, the metal gloss shade, I thought it'd be interesting to pair one of the not necessarily cooler tone shades in the palette, but more neutral leaning tone shades in the palette with something like Ripe to see how it will balance out. So if you were worried about pairing the warm with the more neutral shades, they all fit together 100%, but you realize depending on what you match up is going to largely determine how warm overall the eyes will appear. And lastly, on the left eye, I went in with Hanker on the lid and crease just to see how this metallic, which again, acquainted with just from using so many NATASHA DENONA palettes, her metallic formula is like velvet on the eyes, but I wanted to blend the edges with fervor. Again, seeing how we could get that pairing between neutral and warm from the palette, and you can see a distinction in that gradient. That Hanker is definitely, compared to Fervor, almost like a cool bronze, and Fervor brings a little heat, a little bit. If you wanted it to stay mostly more neutral leaning, I would go in with Vim or just blend out Hanker all by itself. But for a little bit of sparkly arcly, I decided to apply a little bit of Push on the center of the lid. And I adore how that rose gold reflective shade just brought Hanker forward a little more. I want a little more razzle dazzle, right? So you could definitely turn it up if you wanted with either Push, Snug, Homie, any of those shades, or even Fancy, you know what I mean? Or just keep it on its own and have a little more of a subdued moment with Hanker solo. Phenomena on the lower inner corner, because that light peak of fiery peach from that area, I think just amplifies the eyes. And then Snug on the inner corner. And again, Snug is the second metal gloss in the more soft bronze. Even though it is said to be soft bronze, it appeared as a highlight shade on my inner corner, I think because it's just so shiny. And those are the final looks from the third round. And you're probably wondering, well, Alicia, what do you have for the main talking video? Well, for this side, I decided to apply, what did I do? I wanted to create two distinct eyes, one that's more neutral and one that's a lot more warm. Maybe it wasn't further through the crease. I think it perhaps, no, I remember what I did. It was just Vim. That's what I did. I applied Vim solo on the outer corner through the crease, either homey or snug on the lid, just to create more of like a low-key neutral eye for warm. And then I went warmy warm with dynamism on the lid and then further across the crease. I thought combining those shades would make more of a distinction from the palette, especially because you got the peachier shades and then you got the more softer brown shades. Depending on how you pair those eyeshadows, I think you'll be able to create a little more diversity from I Need a Warm, you know what I mean? But if you have any of the palettes I mentioned in the comparison portion of the video, I wouldn't use bronze on the daily. As much as I love that palette because I included it in my top 5 midi list, it has a lot of heat and it looks for me overall a lot more punch because this brings a lot of heat, whereas I Need a Warm, definitely more subdued. I think more appropriate for every day, more accessible and more user-friendly in my opinion. Just from a color perspective, if you have golden, you don't necessarily need I Need a Warm because I think golden provides these same hazy looks, but from a more yellow gold perspective, you got the reflectivity, all right? Even though golden doesn't have the metal gloss is shiny. It has the wet effect though. Wet effect is giving you diamond on the water type of a feel. They're both shiny, right? I think you just have to decide ultimately which undertones are best suited for your complexion. And I Need a Warm, I think, especially I speak for like the medium tan, forget it. You're gonna love it. That's a given, right? If you're lighter than me, these shades here, I think they will appear a little too warm. It really depends. I'm not entirely sure. Whereas deeper than me, it's going to appear softer overall. It's not going to have that same peachy effect like it has on me, for instance, but you're going to get the sparkle and the shine from the metallic, the metal gloss, the duochrome, and the triochrome. I think Pep will provide enough for a smoky moment if you are deeper than me, but it's not going to provide as much smoke as what you get from My Dream because you got Black is Black and Aspiration, and those shades bring a lot more intensity than Pep does. Do I like I Need a Warm more than I Need a Nude? Yes, I think because it's more suitable for my skin tone and I am more partial to these shades overall. I've always have been. I can appreciate a cool glam moment. I do have glam and I think it's fantastic, but I didn't wear that palette often because it was a little too cool icy on me, and I Need a Nude was definitely a step up from glam for my skin tone 100%. But I Need a Warm, I could apply this with my eyes closed and cocktail the shadows in a variety of ways and they will all turn out wonderfully. And I think that's the appeal about NATASHA DENONA. It's just a seamless experience that you have using her palettes. And I say palettes because they are specially curated in a way that does the thinking for you. If you're one to not get into color science, undertone this, color that, you can just slap these shades in any which way and your looks will appear beautifully. And the metal gloss, my goodness, you saw the swatches and you saw the shadows in action. I'm excited to see more metal gloss finishes in future palettes. I am partial to her wet effect. I find wet effect is just more dazzling overall, whereas metal gloss is just shiny. You know what I mean? They're both beautiful, but that wet effect that you kind of get from the sparkling foiled as well, that you have in Push. And I'm not saying the metal gloss is whatever. Metal gloss is fire. But if I had to choose a favorite, it would be wet effect all the way. So that is it. I hope the footage and the swatches and my descriptions help you arrive at a decision. Again, this is not to make you buy it right away. We are nearing the end of August, and that means we will see a lot of end of summer sales, which I'm sure I Need a Warm will not be a part of just because of the timing, but will probably be a part of any future sales during the holidays. So maybe wait until then. It's a permanent palette. And it's a staple. I mean, Natasha ain't going to get rid of this. I think it's one of her more staple palettes, right? The ones that will remain in her collection indefinitely because it is essential in that respect. So not to worry if you get FOMO because you see the I Need a Warms everywhere, which you will probably over the weekend. Just watch the videos and maybe go into your collection. See perhaps if you have something from Natasha Denona already that will replicate similar looks. If you have all these other palettes that I showed in comparison, maybe you're good with those. But we will discuss down below, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for doing so. Hopefully this video helped. Stay tuned for more looks as I will provide more on a YouTube short. I think that's what I'll do. And until then, I'll see you again soon.